So we meant to do one of these videos a lot earlier in the year. We were going to do loads of behind the scenes stuff, but for the last 6 months, we've pretty much just been working on the film, which has meant that we've not done as much social media and behind the scenes videos as we'd like to have done. So we thought the easiest thing to do would be to put this together and have just a little chat about what we've been doing and how we actually made the film in this 2020 COVID environment. So I'm the director of the film, Richard. Our names are on the screen anyway, so I don't know why I'm saying this. Grant, who are you?
I'm Grant, director of photography.
And Laura, you did like everything. We've just been, before this video, we've just been talking about the credits.
Yeah, tell me what my credits are again. Like, how many have I got?
I think you've got a writing one. You've got one for makeup, first AD.
Basically, yeah, I really pulled my weight.
Sound recordist.
No, surely don't give me a credit for that.
No, I'm recently doing some pickup stuff for sound recording. So, I mean, we are a tiny team, so we've all had to pitch in with different stuff. Grant's been a light stand a number of times, where we've not been bothered to go in that far and actually get a light stand out of the cupboard, and Grant's held a little LED.
And he's tall. He's tall. He can get where we can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Not by much.
But yeah, I think it's fair to say we've had a fantastic last 6 months. We filmed in October for around 2.5, 3 weeks, and we've done a couple of pickup days since then. But yeah, it's been an exciting one. So we've had casting changes all over the place. We've had people join the cast, people leave the cast. One of the most exciting things was we had Charlotte Ritchie join the cast. You may have seen her on BBC's Ghosts. Feel Good. If you've not seen that, it's brilliant. Second season is on Netflix. And also Nina Wadia joined the cast as well quite late on, bringing some real class and quality to the production, and she's got a really good part in the film. How have you found it, guys? The whole experience?
Amazing.
Yeah,
it's been so good, especially well, everything's been great, but I did particularly like meeting Nina.
Highlight.
Loved it. Zainab.
Was that day 2? Was it? Was it day 2? Was that?
Yeah, but I was literally like blown away. Like she was, and she could tell.
Starstruck.
Like she could tell I like loved the gossip, so she just kept on giving me more and more like EastEnders. Well, it was best day.
She was great fun to have on set, wasn't she?
It was great fun.
Yeah. It's. I think in a year that's been such a challenge, those 3 weeks were probably the 3 of the best weeks we've individually, personally myself, that I've ever had in my life, let alone in one of the worst years possible. It was like, I think our actor said it as well, like living in a little dream.
Yeah.
No, it was good fun. It was very intense. I think looking back at the schedule, it was always ambitious, but we got it done. But obviously the benefit of time looking back, you realise there's things that we wanted to get at the time, but we couldn't, which fortunately we've been able to do afterwards, haven't we? But yeah, real whirlwind those 2-3 weeks. Crazy.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. So we originally spec'd in 13 days, I think, into the film, and we thought all of these are going to be. I mean, we've shot a lot of short films before in a very short amount of time, and we thought we're pretty good at this. It's only a bunch of short films tied together. I've said that numerous times, and I think our producers just smiled at me when I said it. And then, and then when we go to do this, I think it's just the amount of ambition that you have as well. So what we wanted the film to be like, even though we were set in a very few locations, really, although you won't see that when you see the film on screen, it's still time flies. Really flies, even though we hardly sat down for the whole shoot. I think those original we've expanded and added a couple of extra shoot days with Tom, but our lead actor. But it was a very, very tight shoot, I think.
it was getting the coverage and the time, wasn't it? Because even though we stuck to schedule pretty much, and we didn't have any technical failures or issues as such, did we? It went pretty much to plan, but we just didn't have enough time in some of the locations to get all the coverage that we wanted, which was a shame. And I think there's probably, given a bit more time, I think for next time we probably have a few more shoot days. It's a big learning for me, just to make sure that we're not rushed. We've got the time.
Yeah, definitely give ourselves a bit more time.
Yeah, so I mean, to be fair, these guys like rescued us, where I'd given up on one day completely. Where like the last day of the shoot,
I wonder what day that is.
And I was worried about it anyway, and I thought the sun was chasing us, and we had 1 hour. It was just 1 hour as well to film a scene. One of our few scenes outside at the end of the day with an actress that was from the other end of the country, and it was like, this is going to be, if we don't get this is going to be a pain for everybody. And will we be able to shoot it before lockdown, etc.? So yeah, Grant and Laura absolutely brilliant for that day, and managed to grab a really quite challenging scene in a really challenging environment next to a river with the noisiest ducks in the world, and motorbikes, etc.
Toddlers on motorbikes.
Yeah,
locals having a look. Yeah,
and I think we worked. I think our team as a whole, there was us three, Kim, who was doing the catering, production design, and costume, and then a sound guy. That was it. That was our team. It was so small for what we were trying to do in such a short period of time. Do you think if we'd had extra people, it would have made any difference?
In some respects, possibly, but I think having more people makes it. There's more of, I guess, a management overhead and sort of keeping everybody working together as a team. When you've got a smaller team like we have, we can sort of work a bit closer, can't we? And we all chip in and do a bit of this and that. Nobody's stuck to their individual roles. I think if there's more people, you've got more people to worry about on set. Possibly more things to go wrong, maybe, I don't know, but it'd be certainly a very different way of working to what we're used to,
I think because we've worked together for such a long time, like doing these short films and stuff, we know how each other work as well. So with it only being a few of us, I think it works well, because we knew that Rich was in Amadi that day, and we were just like, we just got to carry on.
and we didn't poke the bear, so we're all right.
Yeah.
But I think if we didn't have COVID, then you'd probably say we'd wanted a makeup artist. We might have wanted maybe a runner, maybe, but even then it would have been difficult. With COVID, it really made it difficult with the amount of space that we had to film in, and the number of people we really could have had on set. So I don't want to cover COVID too much, but because it's not really about, I don't think that's what people would be too interested in hearing about. But we had masks on for, say, 80% of the time. Tom stayed with us in our support bubble, so if it was a scene just with Tom, we perhaps would not wear a mask at that point, because the only people we were seeing for that period of time was ourselves. We were not mixing, and then any other time it was wearing a mask, and I don't think that really caused us an issue.
No.
I really don't.
It's key. It's just remembering to do it, isn't it? And reminding each other. That was the main thing. When it's been a long day and you're trying to get stuff sorted, it's easily forgotten, because it is a different way of working, isn't it, for us?
Definitely.
The only thing is when someone forgets that bit of kit on the very top floor, and I've got to run from the basement with the mask on.
Yeah. That was. I think that was it. It was communication was the key thing with masks. I think was, if you're talking to someone, the first thing you want to do is across the room take your mask off and then talk to them, and you are 2 meters away, but it's then remembering it to pop it back on your ear when you go and do something. It was just that reminder to each other that make sure that we do these things. But I think to make the film in the conditions that we had to make it with, we're not an experienced film crew. We had our producer Giles on set for the first couple of days. He helped us massively with advice. We don't work in the way, or we didn't, and we do now a lot more. didn't work in so much of the same sort of structure that a professional business would have done a full feature film. We're much more on the fly type shooters, much more like a documentary type shooters. But now I think we've changed how we work, and it certainly helped us towards the end. You did a lot of the clapperboarding, didn't you, Laura?
And that was the first time we'd really used it.
Yeah,
so.
for sound sync. Yeah. What was so your highlight was, well, you've already said what yours is, Laura.
Yeah.
What was yours, Grant, and the whole thing, do you think?
It's hard to pick one thing. I think the whole thing as an experience was huge. I think getting to work with the great cast and crew we've had was a real joy, and I genuinely mean that. I think it was a great 2 weeks. We had a lot of fun every day, sort of, on set, off set as well. But it was just a real big experience, real big learning curve for us as well. As you said, this is the biggest production we've done, and we certainly don't come from that background, so it was very much a learning curve. I just enjoyed everything about it, working with the cast and crew, and then the learning curve and experience that I got from it as well. Every day was challenging, but it was good fun. Long days, but real good fun. It doesn't feel like work. That's the main thing.
Yeah. I think that's a really fair point, and I think everybody came out of it with the same thing. It was the people that was Laura's picking out one person because she doesn't care about it yet. But
can't have favourites, Laura.
When else can you get that much gossip?
But I do agree. It was for everybody who was involved. It was the people seemed to have been the highlight. Really, we were just working with fantastic people, and it was it was just a joy to work with. So
I say, with the people thing, like continuing on from the people thing, and like just briefly touching on COVID, because we had that bubble where we were working together and we're sleeping in the same house and eating together, it was like we really created like a good bond between us. And like the cast, like Charlotte and Tom especially, like they're so funny. Like every night was just such a great night with them. So dinner times, it was like, even though dinner time might be at 11:30 at night, fine, because you're gonna have a good time. You'll have a few drinks and relax.
It was also awesome food as well, which
such good
helped.
food.
Right, I think if we learned anything, make sure you've got somebody who's ace at catering, because the cast and crew so appreciate it. And I've heard this in the past, but we had some actors that have been on so many other projects, and then they're so complimentary towards the catering that was put on. And it's an extra expense to your budget, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it when it's the fuel for the day.
It lifts everyone's mood as well, doesn't it? I think people are happy. They're going to give more and better during the shoot day if they aren't hungry.
Yeah, definitely. So most days were probably 12-hour shoots. We did 2 days with a good bunch of extras. There was 60 extras for one day, probably about 25 for another, and again, all done COVID secure. Which was, those aspects weren't so much of a challenge for us. I don't think it was more the time limits around those, but the actual corralling of people went really well, I thought.
That went a lot smoother than I thought it would do, actually. I was a bit concerned about having that many people for us to sort of interact with, especially if you're trying to shoot as well, but it went smoother than I thought it would.
I loved those days. I thought it was like so exciting having that many people like to tell what to do. I thought they were good days, but we had like extras from casting, I don't know, like what are they called? Casting people. But then we had like just Facebook friends as well, and I think like everyone did a really good job. Like didn't matter where they came from. It was they all really knew what we were trying to achieve and really helped us out. I thought they were really good. Every extra we had was great.
Really, there's loads of appreciation for everybody who helped out, and a lot of people just interested in what you're sort of doing. But those days, I think those days did go really well, and I think there was one day that stood out for me. I think it was about the 5th day it was the counsellors the scene with the counsellor, and for some reason it was like a crossover day. It might have been day 3, it was a crossover day where we had a bunch of people join the cast and a bunch of people leave, and I think it was a crew handover at the same time. I think it was.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
With Alex and Paul, yeah.
It was, that day was crazy. There was just people everywhere. It's that day what made it feel like a real film set to me. That was, we're making a feature film at this point.
There was a real buzz in the house, wasn't there? Which was the set for the day. Coming in on every floor, it was real buzz.
Yeah.
Because everyone wants to see the house. Everyone's like just blown away by your house. They're like, what is this? Like, and I just thought, I can give you a little tour, like in the 5-minute break. It's not even my house.
That's it. I mean, we filmed the majority of the film in my house, and that makes the film sound really small. But luckily, this house has got quite a lot of rooms that we don't use. So we turned this one location into about 4 different locations in the film, and that was
you're seeing one now.
So this was a location as well. We've only just changed a number of these back, like repainted rooms and stuff. But it was so handy for the speed of keeping things moving, wasn't it? Because we had a schedule beforehand, and the schedule went really well, I think, as well. You know, we did prepare a lot, an awful lot. But
then you think, like, trying to put in, like, getting 8 people to and from a location every time, you've got to add a few days on for that alone.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think you know, Laura, you did a really good job of making sure people were in the right rooms at the right time, while also having to be on set for a lot of the time yourself anyway, because you were doing jobs in the same room. It wasn't like you could just buzz about
and do makeup in between.
Yeah. This is why I deserve all those credits, guys, you know.
Yeah. But one of the interesting things, and I think, you know, Grant and I found this probably more on the first day than Laura may have done. I don't know. But I spoke to a director afterwards, and he said, I don't know about you, but I always feel really ring rusty when I'm doing even a short film for the first day, just like getting into the flow of it and just remembering how to make films. If I'm not, you know, he's not a commercial director like us. He makes short films every 6 months, a year or so. And I think we found that, didn't we? But like the first day, it was just like half a day was burned in no time.
Yeah, we were in a bit of a fluster, weren't we, in the morning? I think I expected it to a degree. It's same as any sort of, so I do photography on the side. If it's, you know, another job, you sort of, there's all that, the nerves set in. And I think for us on day one, obviously working with cast and crew that we hadn't worked with before in its entirety, so that takes a little bit of time to get into a rhythm, because also communication between you don't know what works, what doesn't, and it just felt like it started at a pace that we weren't quite ready for. So we sort of caught us out there. We were making mistakes that we ordinarily wouldn't do, but we caught up, I think. But it taught us a good lesson, didn't it, I think, on that day one.
Yeah, and I think that's why I want to do this sort of thing. We said we were going to be honest before we started all this process, didn't we, in our first videos, where, you know, we talk about the stuff that goes right and, you know, went right and went wrong. And I think the first day was working with some big name actors on the first scene, working with people we've never worked with before, and it was like the simplest shot we could have planned. And it was planned to be the simplest thing. And I said to Giles at the time, if we can't like sort this out, we shouldn't be making films. And then by 11:30, we hadn't like got this first scene. It's like, have I just told myself what we shouldn't do? And then you look at some of the stuff we achieved after that, and it's like, how did that take so long? But it's, that was a good learning curve. And again, COVID, I do blame COVID a bit for that. Is just our preparation of knowing that we had people for the first 8 days that we couldn't get after that point, that we organised the shoot in a certain way that we perhaps wouldn't have done it unless, you know, we were forced into this. But all loads of learning curve, I think.
Adds a bit of pressure, doesn't it, to the day? That's the thing. In the back of your mind, you know that this person can't be back tomorrow, so we can't mess it up, or we can't miss that shot. And we did miss a few shots, didn't we? Just because of time pressures and, you know, other pressures. But I don't think it's impacted the end product.
No. I mean, we're in deep into post-production. So Grant watched the film through today. Laura's got to have a cut of it very soon as well to go through. You watched one about a month ago, didn't you now, Laura?
Yeah,
And it was very rough at that point. So Grant watched it through today and made a load of notes, and I'm going to make some edits tomorrow. But we are on the home straight now. We're hoping to get it finished this month. I hope our sound guys are listening to this, because it's going to be a lot of pressure on them to do.
No pressure, guys.
So I mean, they're the only crew that we've got in post production is myself and 2 sound guys. I'm doing the editing and colouring myself, and yeah, that's taken. It's only taken 2 months to edit a feature film up to this point, which is crazy, really. Yeah. What? And normally you'd have a colorist, etc., and you'd have an editor and a sound. But we're going to hand it over to our sound guys to do their bits. But it does mean that we're going to get the film that we envisaged from the edit, I think. I don't know. I think handing over to editors a difficult thing to do. Handing over somebody who can completely transform your film into something different. It's a challenging one for me at the minute.
Yeah. It would be letting go of a big portion, wouldn't it? I think.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. So, have you got anything else to say, Laura? Because you come up with a concept for the film with myself, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, it was so long ago, like a year ago that you
over that. It's over that, because it's a year ago when we finished when we did the first draft. So it's like 2 years somehow.
Oh god. Well, it's been a long time, but yeah, Rich came to me. I want to do a feature. What do you think of this? And the story has changed somewhat from what you first came up with, and then we added so much to it that would not get picked up by anybody. We would not have the actors, the cast. Like we wouldn't have the crew. We wouldn't have anyone involved if I think we
started
stuck with our original
ridiculous.
plan. It was just a bit out there. Yeah, we needed to turn it down a little bit. Not that it's boring, but yeah, it's changed somewhat. But it's been really good to be involved from the start till the end, like the very start to the very end. It's been fantastic, like knowing where we thought we were going to get with it and how far we've actually come with it, even this far, like with no release yet. It's been great to see what we could do.
Yeah,
I also think it's amazing just to see the I know we're not finished yet, but to see a product at the end of it. It's an amazing process, isn't it, really? And the amount of effort, combined effort that goes into making it is incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think I posted something similar just the other day that, you know, when we started this process, we had really high hopes compared to what we'd done in the past. We'd set like bars of, right, we want to be able to do this and want to be able to do that, and then somehow, and I think it genuinely is for other filmmakers that are watching this, is just asking questions, just going, can we try and get these producers on board, or, you know, can we get this location? And the amount of times people say yes from just like asking for stuff, and Laura's really good at asking for stuff. I'm good at asking for stuff over email.
There's that time when you and Grant were like, "Oh, do you just want to come out with a little drive with us?" And I was like, "Whoa, mate." Like, "Oh, you know, like we're just going for a drive, just see this location, and like maybe you could get out and ask this man if we can use his like front drive." Like that didn't go very well, but it's like you obviously want something.
Yeah, Laura's definitely the person who's the persuasive one when it comes to like getting stuff like that.
Oh no, don't say that.
The power of influence, yeah.
Yeah, apart from that,
it didn't work though. It didn't work though, did it, on the day?
It didn't work that day. That man did not. We were not friends.
He was not playing ball. No.
No, he wasn't.
Well, his loss.
But then if I had my dressing gown on at 2 p.m. in the day, like, you know, I would have told him to go away as well.
that story just sounds a lot weirder than it. It was weird, but it sounds even weirder now. Yeah, it's been 2 years to get to this point, but it really doesn't feel like it. I don't think it. I think because the last
really
years, in film terms, not in 2020 terms, in film terms, the last year has flown, like really flown, with ups and downs, massive ups and massive downs, and loads of stress for periods of time, and then but I think the highs massively outweigh any lows that we've had from doing this. That we're definitely going to make something again now off the back of this, and unless unless we get 1-star reviews across the board. I don't know. Have you guys thought about this at all? Like, because we've made stuff in the past, and there's been smaller stakes, and then when you're putting this out there for people to see your product,
you've got so many people waiting for it. So many, like, even friends and family, they're like, "When can we see it? When can we see it?" And I'm like, soon.
Yeah.
Hope you like it.
It's anticipation, isn't it? Yeah.
It's definitely.
And I think it will surpass many people's expectations as well. I think that for those certainly that sort of, I guess, in all of our extended networks that haven't seen many of the shorts that we've worked on before, or also really understand the concept of and the scale of what we worked on for this film, I think it will surprise a few people in a good way, hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah,
I'm sure it will.
But yeah, when you're talking about people reviewing it and stuff, it's a bit scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
When it's 2 years of your life that you put into it. Imagine if we'd have gone with the first concept.
Oh, I mean, Tom come off the back of another really good, strong sci-fi that had probably a smaller budget than what we've got, with a smaller team, but shot over a much longer period of time. So we've tried to put a little bit more budget in and get it shot in a shorter amount of time. And Tom laughs at the reviews that he sees for his film, because it generally across the board has got really good. But it doesn't matter what you make, you're going to get somebody who's going to give it a negative review. And I think, that's going to be fun.
It's such a subjective thing, isn't it? That's at the end of the day, it's a very subjective thing. So you're not going to please everyone. People have got different tastes, but as long as feedback is instant fair, that's okay. You never get 5 stars from everyone. But you hope it's that. But it's very unnerving when you release something into the public domain. Just see and when feedback is positive, it's thrilling. We'll see.
Yeah.
The review of this is that Grant sounds like a robot. That's what it's going to be.
Grant's
You sound like Ray to me as well.
Oh, do you?
It's either we sound like robots or Grant's just drunk, and that's why we sound weird. I think I want to do some more of these videos and go into like specific areas. There was one question that we had raised and asked for this video, and I've covered it right at the end, so I don't know if the person's going to watch this and then actually see it. But they're asking about the budget. So our budget for the film, I'm not going to give, I've quoted the figure somewhere else before, but that's not really important. It was mostly like savings, basically. We put savings into making this. We own all our own kit, so from that perspective, the outlay's not massive. We've not had to hire in cameras, lenses, stuff like that. But the only real monies that we've got on board were we had a really small Indiegogo in the scheme of a indie film, which we brought out just at a really bad time at the start of COVID. So for no fault of anybody's, it was always going to be a challenge. But that's because we were going to shoot in July, so we needed the budget for then. We probably would have put it later in the year. So we had $4,000 that come in from that. Some people put Indiegogos up for $4,000 just for a short film. And then we had Marston's were very helpful and came on board and provided some sponsorship. But other than that, it's basically savings that we put together to basically bank on our own film, at least making its money back. But that's not what we made the film for. But yeah, the budget was I think a challenge from when we've had to make it. If we make it any other year, it would have been easier to do. And we did our Indiegogo before we had Charlotte on board, before we had Nina on board. So it wasn't such a big proposition at the time, but still, that money has been a massive help towards making the film. But it's not so, you know, I think other filmmakers are interested in budgets and stuff, but I was watching something the other day and they were saying, you know, when you go to market your film, you don't market your film say, oh well, it only costs 20 grand to make, or whatever your film was, 10 grand to make, because the person who's going to go and watch it, are they bothered how much it costs? It can cost 200 million, or it can cost £7.50. It doesn't really matter how much it costs. If you're going out, I think 15 years ago, it like people were wowed, and when you saw films marketed for, well, this only cost £1,000 to make, and people were like really surprised, and that was an actual marketing thing. But it's not now. There's no excuse for not going and making a film. You can go and make a film with whatever budget you've got, as long as you've got access to a device that you can record it. It helps to have some budget, because I think having a sound guy definitely has helped, and we wouldn't have had a budget to do that with our shorts, etc. But it's really not the be all and end all for filming anymore. And I don't want to push this film as being a budget film, and hopefully people won't look at it and think it's a budget film. It's not going to be something that we're going to push.
No.
And again, from a kit point of view, a few years ago, people would push and say we shot it on this, or we shot it on that. Again, it doesn't matter, because you can get really good stuff for so cheap these days. I think we are going to sell our film hopefully on the merits of the film. That's there's not going to be any special marketing around this. We're make and repeat, and that's what we're selling as a film, not a story. But if we can do more things like this video, just to talk about like the whole film making process, I think that's what we want to do, is just talk about what we've done, and share the experience, and hopefully people will be interested in it. Yeah, that's it, I think, from me, guys. Anything else?
I don't think so. We could talk forever about it.
Yeah.
Got to say something for the next video, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So we want to do some more of these. We'll probably invite some of the actors on for future videos. Maybe get the producers on as well. Kim would be, but she doesn't really like being on camera. So no, thanks very much, both of you, for spending some of your, whatever this time is between Christmas and New Year, this limbo time.
Yeah, I don't even know what day it is.
It's Tuesday. Tuesday today. Yeah.
Doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, we'll hopefully do another one of these videos again. So if you like this video, press the like button below so more people see it, and the subscribe button, because we've got hardly anybody subscribed on our channel. We're not YouTubers, that's for sure.
No, definitely not.
But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, we'll see you on the next video. Press stop.
See you next time.
See ya.